What's going on, YouTube? It's Otto. Today we're talking Diablo 2 Resurrected and what are the best classes that are most efficient for normal hardcore ladder pushing. I want to put this video out now to give people an opportunity to, figure out what is the best and kind of practice with that on the initial release, considering the ladder will not be available on September 23rd when the game drops. The reason being, and I'm assuming, is due to the fact that there's going to be bugs and server issues, and they want to make sure that we get the smoothest experience possible when it comes to the ladder. I'm perfectly okay with that. All right, so with that being said, and let me specify one more time for the people that don't clean their ears out, this is specifically normal hardcore ladder. Things do vary between difficulties and between softcore and hardcore. With that being said, let's dive in.
Stay a while and listen.
All right, druids. Okay, we have your werebear, we have your werewolf, and we have your hurricane. Now, as far as why I'm putting these here, let's explain. You have single target, high gear dependent builds here between the werebear and the werewolf. They're not very efficient for normal pushing. All right, as far as hurricane, you get your skills pretty late. You're getting tornado at 24, you're getting hurricane at 30. You're really not doing damage until then. It's a slow process for Act 1, Act 2, and some of Act 3. Usually you'll be 24 by Act 3. So with that being said, you're getting C tier there, bud. Now we'll go into barbarians. We have your berserker barb, which is not efficient at all, especially for normal. Well, let me rephrase. It is a good build, but it's a very high dependent gear build. And with that being said, we're talking hardcore ladder. You don't have gear. No one has gear. So it's not efficient early on, right? So we also have whirlwind. We're talking... it's got some mob efficiency there, but you're getting it low, like 20, like mid-20s, right? 24. And not only that, but you need gear. You need a good melee weapon. So if you get lucky with that, it's okay. Well, again, we're talking normal hardcore ladder, and you want to get through stuff as quickly as possible, right? For any ladder race, really. Well, where is the other build? We have concentrate. Same scenario. Unfortunately, I got to do that to the barbs. They're just not very efficient early on, right? Now we're talking sorceresses. You got blizzard. We're going with A tier, fireball, S tier, chain lightning, A tier, lightning, S tier, and frozen orb. We'll go B tier. Yes. Okay, those are all. All right, so the reason I rated the sources where I rated them, as far as fire, it's very efficient early on. Really, any fire build is. They scale very good for damage. You get the skills pretty early normally. You can make the leaf rune word for any class pretty much. That gives you bonus to fire skills. It's a good decision to go fire. You get fireball at level 12, so you're able to get quite a few points in very early on, and you're just mowing through groups pretty quickly. As far as lightning, you're getting charge bolt very early at level 6, so you're able to pump a bunch of points into that and clear some mobs pretty quick. You're getting lightning at level 12, so again, pretty early on the skills, so you're able to really get that damage rolling. Chain lightning, the reason I put that in A tier, you don't get the skill to level 18. It does do good damage. Do not get me wrong. It's very good. But chain lightning does a little less damage than normal lightning does. And when you want to like fight a boss or something, that does matter a little bit. You do have static field, and for normal, you can static them down to pretty much 1 health, I think, or almost 1 health, 1 hit pretty much, and then use either chain lightning or lightning. So really, it doesn't matter. I personally find lightning to be a little bit better than chain lightning because of how early you get it, and because you do a little bit more damage than chain lightning initially. Okay, as far as Blizzard, same thing. You don't get Blizzard to level 24. You're doing some okay damage. You got Glacial Spike at 18, so it's not bad, but again, it's a slow start. Orb is even slower. You don't get Orb until level 30. So that's why it gets B tier, right? We want to get skills quick, fast, in a hurry. We want to do damage fast, right? If you're not doing damage, you're not killing stuff quick. And if you're not killing stuff quick, you are going to get left in the dust.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Right? So let's talk assassins. You have Death Sentry. You have Inferno traps, right? The lightning or the fire traps. You have your lightning traps. And where is it? Martial arts. All right, so let's start with martial art assassins. They are a little better, I think, in my opinion, than these D tier classes, only for one reason. Well, a couple reasons, really. They do some solid damage. They're not as gear dependent as these classes are, considering they don't rely so much on a melee weapon. And they do get some AoE skills, so that's why I'm ranking them at C tier. All right, now as far as trap assassins go, you got fire and lightning. Now the reasoning behind my decision here is when you are talking level 12 trap skills, when you compare fire and lightning, you have Wake of Fire and you have the charge bolt sentry, right? And my personal opinion, actually, it's not really a personal opinion, that shit kicks ass when you're talking fire traps, dude. Just the cone effect, the high scale damage early on. Again, fire skills are just really OP early on in normal, right? So when you're talking when you get your skill and how early fire skills do damage, yeah, S tier all day. Okay. Now you have Fissure Druids, definitely S tier. Again, fire all day, dude. I promise it's not a bad decision, especially once they introduce the whole option of being able to reset with Akara. Like, it really changed how Diablo 2 got played, right? So you got S tier Fissure Druid. I kind of missed him earlier, so that's an oopsie on my part. Now we're talking necromancers. We got the bone necro. I personally haven't played too much of the bone necro, but I know it does some mob damage, some group damage, but it's just I don't know. I feel like it might need some gear a little bit compared to like these classes here. Like, these classes are not very gear dependent. And even the Hurricane Druid's not so gear dependent. So we'll actually put him back to B tier. Considering you get that at level 30, you get that at level 30. These are B tier classes, right? Okay, so Poison Necro. Again, you really rely on a certain wand for this build. And I don't think it just does enough damage. You get it kind of late. And, I personally, not a fan. So D tier all day. Now, summoners are nice, okay? I give them an A tier only because they're slow but efficient, right? So they're a little bit slower than some of the other builds, especially if you're running solo. But with some of the curses that they get for killing bosses, of course, having, an army of the dead, really helps with staying alive. So when you got the survivability aspect of it, the slow and steady pace, pacing does kind of suck, but overall, the summoners are really, really good build, especially early on. So I'm gonna give that an A tier. Okay, now let's get into the paladin. You got hammerdin, right? Some people may not agree with this, but I'm going A tier. You don't get the skill until level 18. Okay, these skills, level 12, level 12, level 12, level 12. You get 6 levels on this guy. Okay, so that makes a big difference for damage early on, right? So hammerdins aren't really that gear dependent. Once you start getting a couple points into your auras and your hammers, and even holy shield, the survivability and the damage is there. But again, 18, you got Act 1 and the first part of Act 2 being a slow pace for you, or a slower pace than some of these other classes. You can always go with like a zealot or something like that, which you get at level 12, which kind of helps out with Act 2. But I try not to do that because in your, well, actually, I guess it really wouldn't matter. You could go zealot and then just reset and go hammerdin and stick that out from there. And just don't mess up. Just kidding. You get 2 more retries in Nightmare and Hell, and then of course you got the essences you can earn in Hell. So we got Vengeance Paladin. Vengeance Paladin, you're getting later on. It's single target damage. So you know it relies on a melee weapon. You know it's actually, we're gonna go D tier for that bad boy. Zealot, we'll go B tier. Only because, you know, they can get some decent damage from the auras, right? And that plays a big role in, you know, killing stuff. So it's kind of, it's not really single target damage because you can hit more than one target. And if you're doing enough damage, you can kill things pretty quickly. So we'll give that a B tier all day long. Smiters, D tier, okay? They rely on gear, it's single target. You're stunning them. You know, it takes a while to kill them. That's mostly for later on. That's mostly for end game. All right, as far as warcry barbs, I kind of missed this one. We're going D tier. You get it late. It does do some AoE damage, and it might not rely so much on gear compared to the other builds, but you just get it really, really late. So up until that point, it's going to be a slow and painful process. Now we have the Amazon, okay? We're talking javelin, you have poison, you have lightning. I'm personally not a fan of the poison build at all. I'm not going to say it's horrible or not worth playing, but when we're talking efficiency, we're talking not having gear, being, you know, a quick budget build for early hardcore ladder, lightning javelin, we're going to have to go A tier. You know, you get some of the skills kind of early, but you really, really don't start taking off until you get charged strike. And then at level 18, you get your first javelin. So I'm going to go A tier. The first act is very, well, not very slow, but pretty slow compared to these classes. And it's kind of on the same pace as these classes here. And then you got bowzons. Bowzons are not bad for Act 1. Don't get me wrong, but after that, it really starts to become a struggle if you don't have good gear. Act 2 is not so horrible, and even a little bit more of the normal difficulty. Depending on the gear that you get, you can get through it at a decent pace. But at the end of the day, it's very gear dependent. It does do some good AoE damage. So considering you have a decent start in the beginning and depending on how the gear goes, we'll give that C tier, or I'm sorry, B tier. I feel like that's a good pacing with the other classes. So there you have it. That's what I think are the best and most efficient builds in ranking for hardcore ladder pushing. Normal difficulty specifically. I can't stress that enough because this does change once you get into Nightmare and Hell. Hopefully you got some info out of this, and I'll catch you next time.